What's going on, everybody? I'm Trace, and today we're going to be predicting the Week 1 NFL matchups. All right, so we're going to be going over this latest week's matchups, who we're going to think is going to win, who we think is going to lose. And then we are also going to go over like the roundup of all the news that's been going on in the NFL before the season starts. And then we're also going to look at FanDuel. They ran like a bunch of like pretend games, I guess, and figured out what they think every team is going to do based off of their numbers and calculations. And so we're going to take a look at that as well. And for some reason, the thumbnail is not working, even though I did put the thumbnail in. So we're going to have to look at that real quick. There we go. I don't know why the thumbnail is not showing up properly. Okay, it's just not showing up properly on my phone. Got it. Good to know. Good to know. So for whatever reason, the thumbnail doesn't show up properly on my phone, but it shows up properly on my computer. So that's all we needed to know. So like I said, we're going to be going over the latest league updates before the season starts. We're going to be going over who I think is going to win or lose, and we're also going to be going over what FanDuel is. I'm going to be reacting to what they think each team is going to do in this season and see if I kind of agree with it or not. I already have my takes out there for how I think every team is going to do, and then of course I'll react to my own takes and if I did good or bad at the end of the season, and that should be pretty interesting. I'm playing with a couple other buddies of mine, and we're gonna we always guess what teams are gonna win or lose, and by the end of the season we see who actually did better. So I'm gonna have my hands full. I was gonna show off my fantasy league, but I have 2 fantasy leagues and I didn't really want to talk about both of them. I could if we still have time. It's not gonna be a super long stream, but that should be it for that. So in this latest news roundup for this week, we have a couple important injuries that's going to come from Casey Hayward. Has been fully cleared as a cornerback. The 12-year veteran and 2-time Pro spent the 22 season in Atlanta, producing 1 interception and 3 passes defended in 6 games before his season-ending injury. So Casey Hayward will be able to come back to the field. So for anybody that is looking for a good defense, he could maybe go there for the Atlanta Falcons, and that's probably good for Falcons fans in general. But now he's of course the Cardinals, I should say. But in other news, Joshua Dobbs and Clayton Tune were both listed atop the team's unofficial depth chart that was released today. Head coach Jonathan Gannon has yet to announce the team's starter for the 2023 season. So this is kind of interesting. So obviously there's a battle for the quarterbacks, which I think is good for really the team in general, and of course for the quarterbacks, because they both have drive to do better. Because when it's just you and you don't feel like you're being threatened in any way, you might slack off, right? But by having both quarterbacks there, or another person that can potentially take your job, then you have to perform well, because you could lose it and you're on the chopping block. So it's good to have that. It's good for the team, because then they have their choice of seeing who's going to be better, who do they want to keep around or not. So it's kind of a win-win for both the players and the team in general. That'll be good to see. It'll be interesting to see how that will all pan out as well, because of course that could be really interesting. And then we have Kyler Murray. He's set to come back halfway through the season, I think it is. And then for the Atlanta Falcons, they signed Lucas Dennis. He's a safety, and he's just to the practice squad right now. And then they also have the offensive line, Barry Wellesley, placed on reserve in the injured list. So they're going to be coming into the season with one injury on the offensive line, which is not good. Hopefully they have a good backup for the time being. Hopefully it's not too severe. It doesn't say here what it is necessarily that his injury is. Not saying. I can take a look. Health and safety. Let's see. Injuries. I don't know what it's gonna say. Not finding anything. For the Panthers, we have Desmond Patton. He's a wide receiver that they signed to the practice squad. And then the Bengals, they have a couple injuries right now. Actually, the most notable one being Joe Burrow. And of course, his calf is trending toward starting in Sunday's season opener against the Browns. NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. I gotta stop pronouncing names. I don't know. I really have to. Reported on NFL's Plus, the insiders. Burrow suffered a calf strain at the beginning of training camp and returned to practice on August 30th. So he'll have a good half a month on it, which is good, and hopefully he can be back in full swing for the Bengals at the start of the season. He's going to have a couple extra days because even though the season starts Thursday, of course, with him started playing his season opener on the Sunday, it gives him a few more days to rest up that calf and be good to go. They've also done a couple of other signings just to the practice squad. They've gotten Zach Gentry, which is a tight end, and a defensive end, Garrett Nelson, both to the practice squad. So no big signings right now, but they did draft a tight end, or they did get a tight end and a defensive end. So they're looking at those positions. And they also did a roster cut, which is a linebacker, Tyler Murray. And he just got put back to, or he was just on the practice squad, so he never made it into the games. So the Dallas Cowboys, they had some interesting news. They picked up Trey Lance in one of their signings here just recently from the 49ers. And my take on that, a lot of people are saying that the 49ers, Trey Lance just didn't have much of a chance. But if a quarterback such as Jimmy Garoppolo could perform as well as he did for the 49ers, I dare say that the 49ers have one of the best offensive core units in the entire NFL right now. And so they could almost take basically just an average to slightly below average quarterback like they have been doing with Jimmy Garoppolo and perform actually very well because of how good their receiving core is and how good their linemen are for the most part aside from last year, and players are getting injured. With that being said, though, Trey Lance obviously didn't show a lot of hope and promise just being in the training camps and playing throughout the offseason, that they are looking at Sam Darnold and they're looking at Brock Purdy and going, hey, we're going to go forward with these couple quarterbacks instead of keeping Trey Lance around and Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy and getting rid of the other one, right? That's why they did it. That's my take on it, is he must have been performing very, very poorly in the training camps for him to get cut. And the Dallas Cowboys picked him up, which they have Dak Prescott, and a lot of people give hate to Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott is actually a very good quarterback. Like, his numbers are eerily similar to Patrick Mahomes. Not quite. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is more athletic than Dak Prescott, but it is kind of uncanny that Dak Prescott's numbers are somewhat close to Patrick Mahomes. So I think a lot of people give Dak Prescott a lot of hate, and I don't think the Cowboys are as good as what people actually think either, and they actually have a good quarterback. I'm not going to say he's a great quarterback, but I do think he is a good quarterback. They also have an injury with the left guard, which is Tyler Smith. He is set to have an MRI on a hamstring injury he suffered in Monday's practice. He felt better after we visited and assessed it after practice. Owner Jerry Jones said Tuesday via the Athletics' John Machota. Hopefully it's not serious enough to impact him Sunday night. And that was quote. So, hopefully he comes back then. It sounds like he has a good potential to be on Sunday night's game. If not, we'll have to really watch the blind side there, because that's a pretty big blind side for most quarterbacks, and especially Dak Prescott. You don't want to be taking injuries early on in the season from that. So they might be doing a lot of stuff rolling right, and that's just stuff that you kind of think about right here on the spot. And hopefully they have a good left guard, if he's not prepared to play, that can protect that blind spot, because that's a pretty crucial position right there. And Detroit Lions, they have a few injuries, and a couple of them actually sound a little bit recent, which is not good considering that they're opening against the Kansas City Chiefs Thursday night. The Detroit Lions have injuries with a center, Frank Ragnow. His toe/rest did not practice Tuesday after being a full participant yesterday. So he did not participate in practices today, but he did participate in Monday. Hopefully he'll be back Wednesday, and then of course into the game Thursday. It doesn't sound like it must be too overly bad, maybe if it happened earlier, or possibly could have happened Monday. They have DT Isaiah Buggs. He's got an illness, it says. Was a full participant, but head coach Dan Campbell on Tuesday announced he will be healthy scratch versus the Chiefs. So hopefully he might just have like sinuses or cold or whatever. It's pretty vague. It just says illness and parentheses. Cornerback Emilio Mosley, knee limited. So we might not be seeing much of the cornerback Emilio Mosley. And then, of course, the safety. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Ifeatu Melifonwu, hamstring, and he is full. So, which means could come back then, I take that. But they're going to be going in with a couple injuries. So even if someone like Frank can play, we don't know how bad that toe will affect him throughout the game. And hopefully they can just like tape it up and he'll be fine. Of course, having 4 starters out right at the beginning of the season is not going to be overly good. But the Kansas City Chiefs, whom they're going up against, will also have a beamed-up team, too, going into the start of this season. So that's not good either. Kansas City Chiefs injuries. They have a wide receiver, Richie James, with a knee injury, was upgraded to a full participant in Tuesday's practice after being limited Monday. So it looks like we're going in the right direction with Richie James. If he was a full participant today and can handle it today, hopefully the next day, which is Wednesday, he'll be able to do it, and then Thursday be in the game. Why are these people's names? Cardias Tony, knee was limited for the second straight day, and depending on how bad his knee injury is, he could be in full swing of it come Wednesday and be in the game Thursday. And then here's a big one right here for the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of Chiefs fans are not going to want to hear this, but the tight end, Travis Kelce, hyperextended his knee during today's practice, and his status for Thursday's season opener versus the Lions is in doubt, but it's not expected to be a long-term injury. NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero reported per sources. Kelce was listed as a limited participant in today's practice. That's going to be huge. We've seen Mahomes has to deal with losing a good wide receiver, and if he loses a good tight end for one game, I think he'll be able to manage. I really do. They have a lot of other good receivers, and Mahomes knows how to place that ball in there and have those players make the catch. But not looking good for the offense for the most part. There is a couple defensive players on the list as well. Deshaun Wharton has a knee practiced in full after being limited Monday. And the cornerback, L'Jarius Sneed, has a knee injury, and he was also limited. So we got a lot of knee injuries here in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't know what they're doing there at the Chiefs training camp, but knees, man. They're burning out the knees. Las Vegas Raiders, they signed wide receiver Keelan Cole Sr. to the practice squad, and they also made 3 roster cuts, which was 2 of them was a wide receiver and 1 of them a defensive back, Antonio Wellesley, Isaiah Zuber, and the defensive back being Jordan Perryman. And it was just Antonio Wesley was from the practice squad, and Isaiah and Jordan were injury settlements. Los Angeles Rams, They made a roster cut, defensive back Sean Jolly, and the Vikings made a roster cut themselves with linebacker Abraham Beauplan, injury settlement, and the 49ers made another roster cut, defensive back AJ Parker, injury settlement. The Buccaneers made a couple roster cuts as well, defensive back Don Gardner, injury settlement, and their kicker Zane Gonzalez, injury settlement. And the Commanders, coaching news. Lovely. Coaching news. The Commanders on Tuesday announced the promotions of Juan Castillo to the role of run game coordinator, Randy Jordan to the role of senior offensive assistant / running backs coach, and Travell Wharton to the role of offensive line coach, and Todd Storm to the role of the tight ends coach. So they moved some people around, got them in their positions before the season opener, and the Commanders have always been a crumbling team for a very long time. The past 20 to 30 years, they did have a good run. Like 98? And so by doing all these moves, and didn't they just get a new owner or whatever too in this offseason, they can hopefully get some stuff around. So for those Commander fans out there, right, they can potentially have a good season. I'm not going to hold my breath because it's the Commanders, but, you know, it could go that direction. It really could. So here's the next thing we're going to do is I want to quickly react to what FanDuel predicts every team is going to do this season. They've ran like a bunch of tests or whatever. Like, I don't know how they do this, but they just like simulate every single game multiple times and try to like figure out what they think is going to be the best for every team, or how many wins and losses every team's going to do. Something that I did, except I didn't run, of course, simulations. I just kind of guessed. Take educated guesses, right? And so they did simulations to predict. They did like 272 million total games for all these simulations. And this doesn't mean that you should be putting a lot of money on it, but it's FanDuel. I mean, but yeah, let's check this out. I want to react to this, and then we're gonna get into who I think it will win and loss. So they predicted the Kansas City Chiefs to go 11-3. I wonder too. Let's see, I want this one. Okay, so this on the right hand side, not me, but on the right hand side is what I predicted every team to do. And then we are on the official NFL app where they predicted how every team was going to do win-wise. Okay, so I have the Chiefs at 15 to 17 wins this season. And FanDuel is guessing Kansas City Chiefs to have 11.3. So you can see like the ceiling. They get more involved in the numbers than I do, right? But their ceiling 12.5 wins, floor 9 to 7, and then their FanDuel over under 11.5. They also go on to say that the Chiefs return to the playoffs in the 75% of models. Think of 65% as significant, signifying an extremely strong chance. It's just another indicator that Patrick Mahomes and co. are at an elite level. I should add that this projection presumes Chris Jones does his return to the team in a timely fashion. This is interesting. They have them at their ceiling at 12 wins. I have the Chiefs going potentially 15 and 17. Going on to the Bengals. So I have the Bengals at 12 and 14. FanDuel has them at roughly 10, potentially maybe getting to 12 wins and going as low as 9 wins. And then losing not one, but 2 upper tier safeties in the offseason is never an easy thing for a defense to overcome. But the good news is the Cincinnati's new starters at this position aren't brand new to the NFL. 2022 first round pick Dax Hill got a chance to learn behind Jesse Bates and Von Bell before they departed this offseason. And Nick Scott was a 16-game starter for the Rams last year. Also, there was a lot of option for defensive back formations with the team's veteran corners. Sidebar, I played a lot of chess this summer, and the Bengals cornerback Chido Azazi and the Chiefs linebacker Drew Tranquil are both excellent at chess. It is just a coincidence that they're on top teams. I say no. So they're predicting these teams to go a lot lower than I would have predicted, but I mean, I guess they're kind of in that ballpark. They predicted 10, so that would have been a tier down from what I was predicting, because I'm predicting 12 and 14. I'm predicting that the worst the Bengals do is the best that they're predicting the Bengals to do. Buffalo Bills. They have the Buffalo Bills at 10 wins with a ceiling of 12 and as low as 8.7. I have the Bills at 15 and 17, which I'm going to sit here and say it. I said it on that live stream when I was doing it, that it's going to be a stretch, and I'll say it again. The Bills going 15 and 17 is going to be something that they're going to have to really work for, and that they're going to have to hope that players are not getting injured. They're going to have to play at a top tier level the entire season. Not saying the Chiefs don't have to, but I think it's going to be a lot harder for the Bills to get to a 15 to 17 win season than it would be the Chiefs. Got to have a lot of drive. Von Miller's starting the season on the PUP list, which pushes the ceiling down a bit, but I'm still projecting the Bills to win their fourth straight AFC title. Buffalo's offseason roster moves should lead to new formation opportunities on both sides of the ball. The Bills used 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers at the lowest rate of any teams last season per Next Gen Stats, and they played nickel defense 5 DBs at the highest rate of any team. They should be able to mix it up more now. Getting healthier and safety specified helps a bunch too. Here's the thing about the Bills too. Josh Allen has to stop taking those hits. That's just that simple. Von Miller being out, can be very, very crucial to the team, but it seems like he's only crucial at crucial moments, if that makes any sense. Like throughout the entire game, he doesn't seem to be that big of a threat. It's only when they absolutely need him, they throw him out there and he performs well. Baltimore Ravens. I have the Ravens potentially going, where do I have the Ravens? At 9 to 11 wins. They have them at a ceiling of 12 and as low as 7.7 with an average of 10 wins. So we're in the ballpark there. Note that the Ravens ceiling is higher than that of the Bengals. This is due to the Cincinnati having a tougher strength of schedule. Yeah, if you look at the Ravens schedule, they usually have the easiest schedule out of almost any team in the league. It's ridiculous. Based on opponents' 2022 winning percentage, after winning the division last season, the Ravens often have a high variance between their floor and the ceiling. But this year is less about the offense and more about whether the defense will come together, especially at the top, to stop the pass. Roquan Smith was electric after coming to Baltimore via midseason trade last year. But with Marlon Humphrey likely out for at least a couple games after undergoing foot surgery and some questions about the pass rush, even after bringing in veteran Jadeveon Clowney, stopping the aerial attack could be difficult. And in an extremely competitive AFC North, margins are razor thin, which is very true. The Ravens right now do have a little bit harder of a division, which makes their season a little harder. Last year, the Steelers weren't doing good. The Bengals were not off to a great start last season, and so they were able to actually get a few very easy wins. This year, the Bengals might just come right out of the gate doing good, and if that's the case, then the Ravens are going to have a lot harder time. The Steelers are trending upward. I will say that lightly. With the New York Jets, we are looking at potentially 10 wins. There's a lot of hype with Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of hype with the whole team being rebuilt in this offseason. And a lot of people are really sold on it. A lot of people are really sold that this team's going to do that 8 minimum, 12 ceiling. We're going to have those 10 wins, playoff contention, maybe even Super Bowl contention. I'm not sold on it. I have the Jets in the 6 to 8 category. The reason for that is because normally, even though a lot of those players are used to playing with each other, there's still a lot of new players, and it's a new organization, and new atmosphere and everything of that nature that might take some getting used to. And I don't think chemistry is going to be built this season. I think it's are going to be just like there this season. I think it's going to be built over this season and be there next season. And so potentially the Jets doing better next year. But for this year and this season, I'm thinking 6-8. They have them at potentially 10 wins. The Jets make the playoffs, either as the division winner or as a wild card in 54% of simulations. That number would be higher if they were in the NFC, but it's still a strong figure. For context, the only teams over 66% are the Eagles, 49ers, and Chiefs. I kind of agree with that. For the NFC, yeah, I guess I could. I mean, I don't really know any other team that could potentially do that in the NFC. Possibly the Cowboys. I dare say the Cowboys could probably make the playoffs steadily. But they have the AFC. They only have they're saying only teams. They only have 3 teams. I would say the Cowboys could probably make it, and I would think the Bengals could make it, and the Bills. I can't believe that the 66%. Okay. I mean, it is hard. It is hard to get into the postseason. Jacksonville Jaguars. They have them at almost 10 wins, 9.7 to be exact. And I have the Jaguars at 9-11. So we're right in the same ballpark there. That's a good thing. And I kind of look at the Chargers and Jaguars. I said that in that live stream too, of like kind of similar output teams. What we can expect. Let's see what they have to say into why they believe that 10 wins is going to be their outcome. You'll see the Titans projected to finish behind the Jaguars in the AFC South have a higher ceiling. Let me explain. If the Jags offensive line can withstand the 4 weeks, it will be without the suspended Cam Robinson and then settle in once he's back. It dulls the question my model raises about the team's defense giving up explosive plays. I know that might sound confusing, but the offense, and Trevor Lawrence specifically, really works well when play action is humming, which means the run game needs to be productive. If the O-line can hold up its end of the bargain, the offense will carry the team and control the piece. The thing that we've seen with the Jaguars last season is that they made a lot of mistakes. And when you're making a lot of mistakes, you're going to have a higher and higher chance each mistake to lose the game. And when that's going on, that will hinder the amount of wins, hinder your chance to go into the postseason, and you have a lot of holes that need to be fixed for the next coming season. And there's no denying that at all. And so it can be challenging. And I think that the Jaguars did do a lot. In the offseason, not necessarily player-wise, but they can do a lot that can change the offense, what they need to work on by having this whole season off. And I feel like this is a pretty good prediction. 10 wins, and that's kind of where I have them at too. Like, I have them in the 9-11. I'm predicting the 10 wins as well. Like, I will openly agree with that. So let's see, Chargers, and they have the Chargers a little bit lower than Jags, and I mean, I have them right in the same category, right? Because I'm having those like 3 outcomes in one category, right? They have their ceiling at 11, they have their Jaguars ceiling at 10, floor 7.8, 7.8. So they're looking at the Chargers and Jaguars to be similar as well, and that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like the Chargers have a better chance to get that 11 category than the Jaguars do, but I also believe that they are more or less just in this category. Chargers, the next 3 teams are separated by extremely slim margins, as you can see. As for the difference between the Chargers and the Dolphins, it really comes down to their week 1 matchup being slightly tipped in favor of Los Angeles in the model. Should Miami win the game in SoFi Stadium, switch the Chargers and Dolphins in the rankings. So they're kind of coming down. to the week 1 matchup. And okay, so it's coming down to one game why they're picking. And I can kind of agree with that. It's one game. That's why it's like 9.3, but I predict the Chargers to do more so what they have the Jaguars doing, but with their ceiling, keeping their ceiling, but their overall wins being a little bit closer to that 10 mark than the Jaguars. Cleveland Browns. So they have the Browns at 9.3. So they're really predicting the Browns to get about 9 wins. I'm predicting the Browns to go in that 3 to 5 category. They're predicting their ceiling to be 10. There's a ton of upside on this team, but playing in such a talented division makes for more nail-biter games, closer to the 50-50 odds of winning. If the Browns can win at least 3 of their 4 matchups against the AFC South teams and at least 2 of its 3 contests against the Bears, Broncos, and Jets, they will trend more to the ceiling. So here's the thing. The Browns have a decent team, a fair team. The problem is, it's the Browns. And then they're in a tough division where the Steelers are trending upward. The Bengals, last season, they came out of the gate really awful, but started doing very well. And then the Ravens are the Ravens. So, and they do well. They do all right until they're injured. And so they do have a tough division there. And they're trying to say that the Bears, Broncos, and Jets are good contending teams. The Bears and the Browns might be a good matchup. Honestly, I could kind of see that. I think the Browns would probably be able to beat the Broncos, and the Jets, that all depends on that chemistry that has been created at the Jets. Is it good or is it still gotta boil? So we could see there, but I have the Browns at 3 and 5. I think them going for that 9 wins could be possible, but not probable. Miami Dolphins. They have the Dolphins at 9.3, and I have the Dolphins. Where did I put the Dolphins? At 12 to 14. Whoa, I put the Dolphins way too high. I should have put the Dolphins in the 9 to 11. I should have put the Dolphins in the 9 to 11. I'm not going to change it now, though. So they have the Dolphins at 9. Man, I feel like they could do a little bit better than that. Obviously, I put them in the 12 to 14. If I could go back and change it, I would change it to 9-11. But I would say more towards that 11 side. They did good. They have good offense. Their problem is Tua cannot get injured, and their defense needs to step up. You can't just try to outscore every game. That's just not going to happen. Even the Chiefs' defense that lacks, they know when to step it up and make the stop when the stop is needed. Jalen Ramsey's knee injury takes a chunk out of Miami's projected win total, as he is expected to be out until December. If Tyron Armstead and Jalen Waddle are not 100%, each missed time in the preseason with injuries, that would be also problematic, especially since, as I mentioned earlier, the Dolphins' Week 1 game against the Chargers has a potential playoff implications. This could be true, but I still think that the Dolphins have a better chance of winning that game than the Chargers do against each other. I think Jalen and Tyron will be good. Hill will still be good out there. As long as Tua doesn't get injured, I think they're going to be a fair contending team. They're not going to be Super Bowl contending. They don't have a good enough defense for that. But I do think they could be a contending team, and I think 9 is a little touch too low for them. Pittsburgh Steelers, they have them exactly at 9, and I have the Steelers at 9 to 11. So we're right in the ballpark there. I believe that the Steelers have a good chance of maybe going 10 to 11 wins versus the 9 to 10 wins. And they're having their team having a really tight margin. So they have the team potentially doing worse than what they said they is, with a lower ceiling too. So they only have the team capping out at 1 more win than what they're predicted and going like 2 losses down. If Kenny Pickett is going to take this step forward, many of us are anticipating the O-line will need to do a better job of supporting the offense. The Steelers made moves this offseason to address the front 5. That group's play will go a long way towards deciding how things will go for the Pittsburgh's offense. By the way, I tracked TJ Watt in person during the Bills-Steelers preseason game. His first 3 steps off the line of scrimmage were faster than they were the 2 seasons ago. He's a Watt, man. He's electrifying. That's just all you need to know about it. Steelers are a trending upward team. I think putting them at 9 is a little low. I do think 9 to 11 is right, but to predict them to go 9 exactly, I think that's a little low. I'm predicting them in that 11 range. Denver Broncos, 8 wins. I have the Denver Broncos pretty low. 6 to 8. Right in the same category. I think the Broncos will actually be a little more down to the 6 mark than they will be a little bit higher to the 8 mark, but we'll have to see. They predict that the Broncos have a chance to win an extra game, but a chance to lose a couple extra. So they're predicting these teams to do a little bit worse than they are to do a little bit better. Broncos' schedule has the potential to be pretty punishing, featuring a 5-game stretch that includes the Chiefs twice, the Jets, and after a Week 9 bye, the Bills. In fairness, the AFC is stacked. Overall, my model projects the teams in the AFC to win 6 more games than the NFC teams. So of the 272 games, it's 139 wins for the AFC and 133 for the NFC. Usually there's maybe 1.5 or 2 games separating the conferences, tops. Early down success on offensive flags as a key area determining whether the Denver tracks to the ceiling or to the floor. So they're going to be really watching the penalties with the Broncos. I'm really watching Russell Wilson and the chemistry there. Well, I do believe that Russell Wilson is washed, and we're going to see it again this year. Tennessee Titans, they have them at 8 wins. I do believe that the Tennessee Titans are trending down. I do agree with that. I have them at the 6 to 8 mark, and I think they have a better chance of actually maybe getting into that 9 to 11 category. I do believe they have a chance to do that, but I put them in the 6 to 8 because Derrick Henry's been taking a lot of hits. And even though they beefed up their offense a little bit, they're trending down, and there's no denying that. It's looking like win the AFC South or bust for the Titans. 2 teams from the division make the playoffs in just 8.1% of model simulations. For Tennessee, aside from staying healthy, which is something all teams need, both lines likely will determine how the season goes. If it all comes down together as planned and DeAndre Hopkins helps open up space near the line of scrimmage, then the Titans could steal a playoff berth from the Jaguars. So they're predicting that the Steelers and Jaguars could be in contention for the postseason, and I believe that the Jaguars are trending a little bit more upward than the Tennessee Titans, and the Jaguars could actually win that out. Oh, they have the Patriots at 8 wins. And I have the Patriots at 9 to 11. Not doing too much better. They think that the Patriots will be topping out at 9 wins with a floor of 6 wins. Tough saying. Really want this to be the truth. Don't know if it will be the truth. The Patriots, I think, are a little bit better than what people believe they are, but I'm not going to say it here and say they're like playoff contention, but I feel that they are enough to slide into the playoffs if some other teams make some mistakes. They're good enough to shake things up, is what I'm saying. And they have them as a team that will not do any of that at having them at 8 wins. And I do believe the Patriots could be enough of a threat to kick another team out of the postseason, and they go in. So with that being said, their paragraph for the Patriots says, among AFC teams, the Patriots have the 2nd hardest schedule in the first 4 weeks of the season. According to my math, however, if new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien can get play action to work well, so the run ball with Ramondre Stevenson and allow play action passes to follow, this projection trends towards the ceiling. This might sound simple, but it's definitely not an easy thing to do. The other thing is they did pick up another running back too. Didn't they pick up Ezekiel Elliott or whatever? So they could use him as a power back. I would like to see Ezekiel Elliott be used. I think they could do that. I think they could get away with that. And we have to remember that he could be in the backfield and good for like some power plays. We're looking at the Las Vegas Raiders. They have them at 6 wins. I have the Raiders at 6 to 8, and I do believe that they will trend right in that middle to 6 to 7, and they have a ceiling of 8.9 with a floor of 5.6. The Raiders' first 4 games look to be very challenging at Broncos, Bills, and Steelers, and Chargers. While the pass rush projects to improve, solving challenges on the back end, especially early in the season, would go a long way toward changing the upside case for the Raiders this season. They got Jimmy Garoppolo, man. I don't know what the Raiders are expecting to get out of him. They're not going to do good. Like, Jimmy looked good for the 49ers because the 49ers are an elite offensive team. He's not going to look good for the Raiders. Going from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo is literally a lateral move. That, if not a downgrade, honestly. Maybe not much of a downgrade, but possibly a downgrade. Not an upgrade. No way an upgrade. Houston Texans, they have them potentially at 6 wins. I have them going 0-2 potentially. 0 wins to 2 wins. So I want to see what they have to say about this. They have a good ceiling for them. They don't really have much of a floor for the team, so they're pretty steady at that they might get 5 to 6 wins. Interesting. My models show the Texans, who won 3 games last season, have improved significantly. I don't know what they seen that I didn't see. And that their defense in particular is poised to take a step forward in 2023. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They have added a new head coach, formerly the 49ers defensive coordinator, as well as 3rd overall pick, Will Anderson Jr., and should benefit from a healthier Derek Stingley Jr. If they can shore up the run defense and improve the run offense, it should take some pressure off rookie quarterback CJ Stroud as he gets acclimated to the NFL. Here's the thing. They have a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks, I'm not saying it's impossible. They usually struggle their first year, or at best they do mediocre. It's a new game. The NFL to college is a whole new game. Players are hitting harder. Players want it more. And especially on opening weeks, you don't know what's going to happen to CJ. He could get literally injured in the first play of the game because he might not be prepared for what's coming into him. Some veteran comes running across the field and smokes him. Welcome to the NFL. That's how that could go. I'm not saying, and there's a lot of hype around him. And normally when there's a lot of hype around a particular player or team, for that matter, they're not as good as what people are predicting. Normally not. It's usually the players that don't get talked about as much that are somewhat better. Like, you don't ever hear social media, the NFL networks talking about Patrick Mahomes other than like, oh, he won the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. But if he does something truly amazing, then they'll talk about it. But you never hear them hardly ever talk about Mahomes unless they kind of have to. And he's a great quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the league right now. But you hear him talk about CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, and these quarterbacks haven't even played yet. So they could potentially do good. They could potentially do bad. All I'm saying is, when I see people on the NFL Network and these podcasts going, oh, this player's going to do really good, it's like, ha, probably not, because you're talking about him. Like, if they feel the need to hype a player up, they're probably not going to do as good as what they're hyping up to be. Indianapolis Colts, 5 wins. That's what they have with the Indianapolis Colts. And guess what? I have them right there too. 3 to 5 wins. I think they could get closer to that 5. I'm guessing more in that 4 range, right in the middle. But my models look like rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson a lot. I saw him in person when the Colts visited the Bills this preseason, and I somehow think he's gotten faster since the NFL scouting combine. I will be tracking him all season, and I'm certain he will be a fast learner. Fast learner is one thing. Being fast doesn't mean squat. A lot of these teams right now are looking for these dual threat run first quarterbacks. That's not always the case, right? Some of the best quarterbacks to ever step foot on the gridiron were Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, right? You got Joe Montana, Johnny Unitas. A lot of these players were not athletic at all, but they know how to throw the pigskin. And so just by saying he's fast doesn't mean squat. It doesn't mean he's going to do potentially that good. I don't know why I don't know when the quarterback list was projected to go, oh, hey, if he's a runner, he's going to do good in the NFL. It's like, no, that's not necessarily the case. It's just not. Okay. So, with that being said, we have the week 1 schedule for the season and who we think is going to win and who is going to lose this season. And we have to put each team in. Let's see here. I want to pull it up and get that schedule. Okay, we got the schedule here. Pull it up. And let's get started. Here. I'm gonna share screen here, and then I'm gonna go pull this up. And I just want this here. Okay, so right now we have on Thursday night, we have no bye weeks, so that's gonna be here. But for this week, there's no bye week. And then of course, green's the win, red's the loss. Bye week, changed it up a little bit, but we'll get the picture. Okay. So what's gonna be happening is we have the Lions and the Chiefs, and actually, you know what I could do? I could do this. And I could do this. Bada bing, bada boom. So we have Lions and the Chiefs. I gotta switch this. This is just weird for me. I want it over here. Okay. Lions, Chiefs. This team will be the home team. The team on the right's the home team. And that could make a difference in some of these games. Chiefs got some injuries. The Lions are poised to do good. So we're going for the Chiefs to win. I just, what's going to be, man? It's the Chiefs against the Lions. I'm sorry. The Chiefs are just so much better. This is just how it is. It could be a close game. The Chiefs don't have much of a defense. The Lions could be able to score. I don't know if they'll be able to go score for score, though. That'll be the biggest thing. Then we have the Titans and Saints. Oh, this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to have to go with... I don't... I'm going to have to go with Saints for the win. So that would be a Lions loss and a Titans loss. Where's the Titans? I can't find the Titans right now. Right there. Okay. We have Buccaneers and the Vikings. Interesting. Buccaneers and the Vikings. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings on this one. That's gonna be a hot take. Minnesota's favored. I think the Buccaneers are gonna be in a really tough spot, though. And I say that because they lost Brady. Yes. Like, they're only be good because they had Brady, and they're gonna find out real quick how badly they needed him. And that they were lucky that he chose that team. Cardinals and Commanders. That's going to be another tough game. What do I choose? I almost just want to do eeny, meeny, miny, mo on the Cardinals and Commanders. Like, who's really going to win? I'm going to have to go with Commanders for the win and Cardinals for the loss. 49ers and Steelers. I'm going to have to go with 49ers for the win and Steelers for the loss. Bengals and Browns. I'm going to have to go Bengals for the win, Browns for the loss. Panthers and Falcons. I'm going to have to go with Panthers potentially for the win. That's going to be a tough one. Falcons for the loss. And then, let's see, Texans and Ravens. I think the Ravens could win. I hate to say that, but I do think the Ravens could win. Ravens, Texans. Let's see, who else do we have? Jaguars and Colts. I'm going Jags. I'm going the Jaguars over the Colts. The reason I'm doing that is because I think both teams are going to struggle, but at least the Jaguars have chemistry with each other, where the Colts have a whole new quarterback, and they might not have that chemistry yet. And he obviously is not acclimated to the NFL. And the Jaguars are home. No, they're not home. That was my bad. Packers and Bears. I think even without Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are still better than the Bears. And the Bears don't have a winning record just in general the last couple of seasons. Packers, even with Jordan Love, I think could potentially do better. I don't think Jordan Love's a good quarterback, but I do believe that they could do better. And I know they lost a lot of people and that they're not going to be home, but they have a better track record with bringing in quarterbacks and actually having that potential of them being good, like Bart Starr, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, than the Bears do. So, Eagles and Patriots. I just want to pick the Patriots so bad, but I know the Eagles have the best chance of winning that game, and I really hate that. I want the Patriots to win. They're not going to win. They're going to lose their first game at home, right on the opener. God, that's gonna suck. Oh, why did I pick the Patriots? My favorite team. Rams and Seahawks. This one's another tough one. Here's the thing about the Rams and Seahawks right now. Seahawks, they have a quarterback that has performed one great season. Now he's got his money. He could slack off. Rams, they're an injured, banged up team that won the Super Bowl, and half of them should have retired or quit right then. But they didn't. And so with the Seahawks being home, I think they do have the better chance. So I'm going to put the Rams as the loss and Seattle for the win. And then Dolphins and Chargers. I'm going to have the Dolphins for the win. I think they have a better chance, even though they're not home. And the Chargers for the loss. Because even though they're not home, I think their offense could outscore the Chargers. And I do believe they worked on their defense a little bit. And I think that's going to be a tough game. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, too. Dolphins have a chance to make less mistakes than the Chargers, which could result in the win just in and of itself. Raiders and Broncos. I have a feeling that the Raiders have a way better chance of winning that than the Broncos do. There's some potential for the Broncos to do good this season. Some people have been talking about it. I'm not sold. I think Russell Wilson, ever since that Super Bowl loss, has been completely washed. So I'm not sold on him. I don't think they're going to perform well, and I think they're going to get smoked at their home stadium by the Raiders. And I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is that good, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo right now will probably perform better than Russell Wilson. Even though Russell Wilson has created some chemistry with that team now and Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't, I think the Raiders just in and of itself is a better team than the Broncos, which can kind of like make up for those flaws at the beginning of the season. Cowboys and Giants. Not a Cowboys fan. Not really a Giants fan. But Cowboys are going to win that game. Cowboys have a good team. I hate to say it, but they do. They do have a good team. I don't know why they got Trey Lance. If the 49ers didn't want him, I don't know why the Cowboys would want him, but hey, I'm not the run signing $1 million checks, so What the heck do I know? Bills at Jets. Coming right out with a good game right there, a good divisional game. So the Bills are probably going to win that. There's a lot of high hopes for the Jets. There really is. But I got to say, I believe that the Bills have a way better chance of winning that game than the Jets. So this is the week 1 matchup that I have right now. There's no games on bye week, or no teams on the bye week for the week 1 opener. And I have all the teams lined up with who their matchup is, like Chiefs and Lions, Saints and Titans. They're all lined up, win to loss. Right here is what you can see. So I have the Chiefs over the Lions, the Saints over the Titans, the Vikings over the Bucks, Commanders over the Cardinals, 49ers over the Steelers, the Bengals over the Browns, and the Panthers over the Falcons, with the Ravens over the Texans, Jaguars over the Colts, Packers over the Bears. That might be a good one. And Eagles over the Patriots. That really makes me mad. Seattle over the Rams, and Dolphins over the Chargers, with the Raiders over the Broncos. That could be a good matchup as well. Cowboys over the Giants. That could potentially be a good matchup. I do believe the Cowboys have a really good team, though. Not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they have a good postseason team. And Bills will probably smoke the Jets. That's just my take on it. That is my hardcore take on it. And that will probably wrap up today's stream. So I did everything that I've wanted to do. I've gone over the weekly wrap up for the NFL, made my predictions for week 1, and we've also gone over what FanDuel thinks they are going, how each team is going to do this season, and did it to mine. Hopefully I can come up with a couple videos, like break this all up into like maybe a couple videos, maybe 3. I could potentially get 3. I could potentially get 1. We'll see what happens. But thanks everybody for joining the stream. Please drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'm out.